My name is Aaron Arends. I'm a senior regional analyst here at Intelligence Fusion, and today I'll be discussing lithium mining in the Americas. So lithium is the metal that's used to produce batteries, so your smartphone battery, but basically most of the electronics in this office will have some lithium in their batteries. But more importantly, it's used to produce batteries for electric vehicles, which is why the demand for lithium is expanding exponentially. So you have governments really setting aggressive targets to phase out diesel vehicles, and you have car companies, all major car companies are trying to electrify in some way. So the demand is increasing so much that they expect by 2030 the lithium deficit will be about 1 million tons, which is great news for countries in the Americas that have lithium. So in the United States, you have lithium was discovered in the Nevada desert, also in Sonora in northern Mexico. And then you have about 60 to 80% of all of the lithium in the world, like all of the known deposits, have been found in Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina, which is called the Lithium Triangle. So it's like in the deserts of the Andes. I think most people have seen images of this because it's a popular tourist destination. So you'll have a white plain with people standing on top of it, and it's almost like a mirror. So that's the salt flats where lithium can be extracted from. And because it's deposited in these salt lakes, it's relatively cheap and effective to extract from salt lakes, as opposed to from mines such as in North America or Mexico. So for these countries, it presents a huge opportunity. For mining companies, it presents a huge opportunity, but it's proven to be difficult to do business in this area. So some of the operational challenges lithium mining companies face in the Americas are basically threefold. So first is government regulation, second is protests, and the third is organized crime. When it comes to organized crime, Mexico is often a good case study. So in the desert of Sonora in 2014, there was a large lithium deposit discovered. But as in any state in Mexico, the territory is controlled by a cartel or multiple cartels. In the case of Sonora, it was controlled by the Sinaloa cartel. And since its leader El Chapo got taken down, more and more Sinaloa has become insecure because it's become a battleground between different factions or different cartels. And cartels have evolved from drug trafficking. They have diversified, so they extort businesses, they kidnap, they traffic other things like human trafficking, and mines are just a logical next step. So, for example, in areas of Mexico where money is made via tourism, the cartels will extort business owners of hotels, of nightclubs, of restaurants, or they will, if they don't already own those places, or they will extort taxi drivers, construction workers. So that's, for example, something you see in the state of Quintana Roo, in Cancun and Tulum. In areas where there's lots of agriculture, they will extort farmers, or they will take over the farms, avocado farms or raspberry farms. And so what I'm trying to say with this is that they are used to diversify, and mines are a logical next step because mines are often in remote areas. And as you see anywhere in the Americas, the more remote the place is, the more vulnerable it becomes to organized crime. To sum it up, for lithium mining companies in Mexico, but to a limited extent also in other places like Bolivia, they will have to consider the theft of equipment, valuable equipment, workers being kidnapped, extortion, corruption. These are all things that they have to consider in order to do business. Okay, so the second operational risk lithium mining companies face in the Americas is protest. Local communities, for example, are fear being displaced, or they want better financial compensation, jobs, and then you have, most notably, I think, as environmental concerns. So in South America, this often comes down to water shortages because in South America, the lithium is derived from salt lakes, brines, where there's a concern that because the mining companies need so much water that they will also cause water shortages. And from the data that we gather, like every month, I see new developments that relate to water shortages. So for example, recently, Brazil upped the price of electricity in the country because most of their electricity is generated from hydroelectric power. So the rivers, they've become so dried out that they cannot generate enough energy. In Argentina, for example, cargo ships have to cut their cargo because otherwise they just run aground. So the water levels in the rivers are just not high enough in Latin America at the moment. And incidents of like extreme droughts we see more and more, and probably will see more and more as climate change progresses. But so that's a major like concern of environmentalists. On the other hand, like lithium is supposed to be part of the solution to climate change. So I guess that will help alleviate some of the tension maybe. So maybe lithium mining companies will see relatively less protest activity from environmentalists. However, we're already seeing this, for example, in the Nevada desert in the United States. There's a group that set up a permanent encampment. So this example of the United States is affecting lithium mining already. But most of the projects are still in development. So protests might be limited because of that. If we look at other mining activities in the Americas, current protest ongoing at the La Bambas copper mine in Peru. We also have protests going on at the Vaca Muerta shale oil and gas project in Argentina. And in both of these cases, you'll see protesters gathering at the site, trying to block construction equipment, trying to block access to the mine or whatever type of extraction company it is, to disrupt the business. So this is something that companies can, look out for, and especially try to connect with the local communities, because the local communities are often the ones who are organizing these protests. In the United States, you might have environmentalists coming over from the other side of the country, but usually in Latin America, it's local communities that are affected or worried about, environmental impacts or being displaced, whatever. So interaction with the local community is should always be a priority. Because the demand for lithium has been growing so much, lithium has become a strategic resource, and therefore it's more prone to international trade tensions, but also protectionism. So when it comes to protectionism, you'll see this, for example, in Bolivia, where lithium has been nationalized, because a lot of countries in the Americas don't like the idea of private companies extracting all the wealth. So in Bolivia's case, they have a long history. It goes back to the Spanish silver mines in like the 16th century, where they were essentially robbed of their national resources. So from this background, it seems logical that they would want to nationalize it, but it's also just logical in the sense that it's become a geopolitical strategic resource. So countries want to protect it and make the best use of it they can. Protectionism also brings downsides, obviously. So like nationalizing lithium, as has been done in Bolivia, they're trying to set up their own processing facilities, their own battery production facilities. But in order to do this, you need world-class engineers, you need high-end technology. So even Bolivia is trying to get foreign investors to be interested in investing. But if you want to, for example, mine the lithium in Bolivia, you will have to partner with the state and you have to pay a very heavy tax. So in that sense, it becomes difficult for companies to operate in these countries. So this is why Bolivia, although it has the most amount of lithium in the world in terms of deposits, it's also the country that has least exploited them. And even though that's true, still countries such as Mexico and Chile are also considering protectionist policies just because lithium has become a strategic resource. And basically the conclusion to draw from this is that as lithium grows in demand and becomes more valuable, it will also become more politicized. And with that comes, sudden policy shifts that makes it difficult for mining companies to make long-term investments.